I put a level right down here, like if you got a torpedo level.
Yep.
Just put a torpedo level here and get it level and stable. I don't know, you can't see it, but I got some shims underneath, wood shims underneath here. Okay, so that needs to be level. And then when you get the pendulum on, what you want to listen for is the tick. It has to be, if you can't keep rhythm to music, find somebody that can, because you're not going to be able to do it. So you want to just listen to that tick.
Listen to the tick, okay.
It has to be even, like a metronome, like keeping rhythm to music. And how you adjust that, you shouldn't if the case ends up being basically level, but you still may have to adjust it.
Okay.
Because bubbles lie too. So your adjustment for that is right here, this small screw. You either screw it in or pull it out and it'll change it. It'll either start galloping worse, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, or it'll improve, starting to get better, like tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. If it gets worse, you went the wrong way. Back it up and start over. It doesn't take a lot, just one twist of your fingers.
Okay.
Let it, listen to it, see what it does.
Okay.
And you can also kind of see that the ticks are even. They take about the same amount of time to go. Okay. And like I said, that's this adjustment right here. So it's reasonably well regulated right now. So if you get back there, and I don't, like I said, I don't know who's taking care of the clock. If they want to get all kinds of crazy on it, then you can keep trying to make it even better. Okay. But how you regulate it is this nut down here. This regulates the fast and the slow.
Yep.
With this, just like a 1/16 of a turn at a time. Start the clock back up, reset it. Now, unless you have a radio...
Screw it up and it speeds it up.
Hang on.
Okay.
Unless you have a radio-controlled clock, this is going to be way accurate for you just if you're looking at your watch. If you have a radio-controlled watch, you can set it to the seconds. I set my watch every morning to the second by my radio-controlled clock. So, and how you do that, if you want to set it to the second, is just stop the pendulum. I usually stop it right at the dead 60.
660.
And then let it go when you hit 0 on whatever you want to set it to.
Okay.
You can do that. If not, it ain't that big of a deal. I mean, there's not that many people that are that anal. So I particularly kind of am. So other than that, hanging the pendulum's kind of a trick. It's a heavy pendulum. Mm-hmm. What you don't want to do is this little bar slides up and down on here, and it's old, it's mad, it wedges sometimes. It took me quite a while to get this unwedged properly, so we'll be very careful when we take that off. As far as the weights go, I'll show you how we got them off and we get them on, or you can get them on. You got to pull the cotter pin,
yep,
and you got to pull that pin.
Yep.
Muscle that out of there. I got some wire. We'll wire the cables down. As long as the cables are fully extended, it's not that big of a deal, except for when you start winding them back up, you want to make sure they spool onto that cable in the right grooves.
Okay.
Okay. The crank, I've been storing it right here. It works great. So, and when you crank it up, these have to go all the way up. This portion of the weight will touch the top of the clock. That's a full week run, 7 days.
Okay.
It needs to be wound every 7 days, and the best thing to do is wind it at the same time every 7 days. 7 o'clock in the morning Monday, 2 o'clock in the afternoon Tuesday, whatever. It needs a regiment. That's the best way to do it for it and the guy winding the clock.
How about more than like twice a week?
You can wind it twice a week if you want. It doesn't make any sense, but I know people that do.
Yeah.
They only wind them up halfway, and then they wind them up halfway again. But it's meant to run 7 days.
7 days.
So if it's going to be a super long weekend, I would wind it up fully. You know, if you got like a 3-day weekend and you wind on Mondays and you're not going to be back Monday, I'd fully wind it. If you get to a point where you are not going to be back to wind it and it's going to run out, best thing to do is pick an hour, reach in, stop the pendulum, and wait until you get back. Do not let it run out. That's the worst thing in the world for them, because this thing actually has kind of 2 clocks in it. There's 2 clocks in this. The first clock is this one. The second clock is this little tiny apparatus right here. This is the main clock that runs everything. This little tiny piece right here.
Right. Gear back there, huh?
This whole little apparatus is
the whole thing.
that is a clock, and this is a clock.
Okay.
These gigantic weights wind this little tiny spring right here.
Huh.
And you can't see it, it's fully wound right now. These gigantic weights wind that little tiny spring right there.
Huh.
And they run this apparatus, so they do two things.
Okay.
But without this being wound, the rest of it doesn't work. Okay, now as for that, problems, give us a call. If you don't know, stop, give us a call.
Yep.
Because we don't want you having to drive all the way back here again, because this thing don't fit in our shop.
Yeah. Yep.
So we'll go ahead and get everything taken apart, get it out to your van, and go from there. And like I said, this is the original secondhand I found in the bottom that I got put on there. Somebody else, it had broke at one point in time. Somebody else put something on there. I found that in the bottom. It's original. We'll put it back on. We put it back on.
Okay.
So
You happen to have a door latch that we can, so little kids can't be playing with it?
I don't have anything of that type.
Anything?
The best thing
Okay.
I've ever seen from days gone by of people having stuff like that, a simple little hasp. I mean, this is a tragedy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But somebody lost the key. They
Yep.
couldn't figure out how to get it open.
That's how it was too.
So, but
Yep.
But just a simple hasp. You see them on all kinds of old clocks because A, they lost the key, B, the actual original latch broke. The door is warped so bad it doesn't close properly. So this one's really quite nice because if you just lift it up a little bit and slide back, it closes just beautiful. But if little kids, parents should be taking care of that. But other than that, it's been running fantastic. So, okay, we'll start disassembling it.
Okay.
So, first thing is this gigantic heavy weight. And now this dang thing, you can't really see it up in there. This flips up. And it also, when it flips down, there's a track on this that it has to sit in. This dang thing just simply, and simply is kind of a funny word, lifts off because it's got a bar on that suspension hanger that fits into there and then down.
Okay.
So unless you get that in there just right, it won't hook. Don't force it. You bend that suspension spring, you'll be calling me up. And we'll have to find a new one.
But you'll come out and fix it though, right?
Yeah, I don't think they're going to want to see that bill. Yeah, I don't think they're going to want to see that bill. Okay, so now it's going to sit here and run fast. What I'm going to do is, to keep that from doing that, I'm just going to take a little piece of tape. Well, it won't be little. And I'm simply... Oh, where can I go around here? We just got to hold it from moving. And we're just simply going to go like that. That'll keep that from running on the way home. Okay?
Yep.
And we don't want it being beat around because that will knock it out of beat and then you won't have enough adjustment here if you need to adjust. Okay? So that'll keep that from doing that. The crank, we'll just put over here for now. Remember that, Willie. Now, the ugly part.
Well, don't call me names.
Yes. This is stuff that I found. That's the hand that I found in there. It was originally on there.
Okay.
I don't know if we're going to be able to use those. I can let the cable out further if I have to. So we'll see if I'm going to have to. Oh, I don't look forward to this.
No, it wasn't fun when we took it off either.
Yep. So I had to end up having a knee in here. Grab me the crank, Willie. I think I'm gonna let this down a little, one of these down a little bit.
You probably don't want to attempt this.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't. Okay, that one's all the way down, all relaxed. And probably that would probably be the best way to ship it home.
Okay.
So let's get one weight off of here. Gee, how light. Well, Willie, it's just awkward, and they fit very nicely. Okay, so cotter pin, that pin, and it really doesn't matter which one goes on which side.
Oh, okay. They're both the same then.
They're both exact duplicates. Yep.
And front or back don't
really matter either.
Okay.
No.
Good.
So just make sure your cable's in the groove on the pulleys, top and bottom, and on the weight, simply because we don't want to kink this cable. And like I said, I don't know how long this particular cable's been on here, but I'm sure it's been a while. Get her straightened out here. And I'm just gonna, wire works good for me. I'm just gonna go underneath that one and through the center hole on that gear, bring it over and twist it a couple times. Because we don't really need a lot of tension, just enough to keep the cables from coming loose.
Okay.
Okay. I had a stupid moment there. Let's change this. Well, if the wire wants to come back off. Okay, let's go this way. And like I said, make sure when you're winding it up, the cable's tracking in them grooves properly.
Right,
So.
right.
There we go, just like that. Yeah, that easy. Okay. I'll grab that, Willie. And here's the cotter pin. It's worse than a car battery, ain't it, Willie?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, that big old weights for that little tiny movement.
Yeah.
But it's got to spin all that other stuff too, up there too. So. Okay, we're gonna drop that down a little bit. Oh, I didn't want to do that. I don't want to spin that spring too much. There we go. Give her a click. And that should do that. So you should have enough, hopefully, there to get it out and rest the weight on the shelf and stuff. When we took them out, there was.
Then just push it back in there and let her fall.
Let her fall. Yeah, no, no. Yeah, I'd prefer not. Okay, so that's that trick. Let's see. We already got the money, so we're set there. Take this off. And so away it goes. And then as far as setting the time, you can move this hand around. You don't have to worry about anything. You can move it forward or backwards.
Okay.
It's not going to hurt a thing. It moves exactly on the strike. It'll start moving a minute before and stop at 60, or it'll move at 60 and stop at 1 second after. Every other minute is the exact opposites. It's really kind of goofy. But it'll advance and stop. Like I said, this is just on a slip clutch, so that doesn't really matter too much. So
Okay, and cannot go backwards.
you can go forward, backwards. It don't care.
Oh, it does.
No,
Oh, okay.
It don't care. There's nothing in there
Okay.
to tell it any different. So
And does this thing have a chime?
nope.
Okay.
It's a clock. And that's
It's just a
it.
clock. Okay.
Well, it's the master clock. At some point in time, whatever courthouse it was originally in, there's black piping running to every single room.
Yep.
And every
That's-
clock, and every time
They had
this
to cut the
bellow
pipe
moved,
in order to get this thing out.
when this bellow would move, this whole system was pressurized, and that'd send a puff of air out and advance every clock 1 minute. So really kind of neat.
Yeah, it is.
This
Yeah,
was
it is.
before the idea of electricity. So
The county won this in some kind of a contest back in the 20s.
that's
That's
funny.
what I was told.
So it didn't come out of the courthouse originally.
No, the courthouse built in 11. And
So you don't even know where it originally came from. Huh, that's interesting.
my auditor Susan said that it was won in a contest, and maybe she knows exactly where it came from.
That's interesting. That's really interesting. Because usually something like this gets set in a building, and that's where it stays. Okay. Well, that's ready to go out.
Okay.
So you want to take that out first then?
You bet.
Okay, Willie, come on.